Hello and welcome to Wednesday Debate Live with Taghreed Hussein here on Nile TV International. Well, tonight a very special flight, let me say, and a beautiful destination. Tonight we'll be flying to the land of secrets, the ancient caves, the historical sites, the golden beaches, the stunning islands, as well as the most beautiful waterfalls as well on earth. In a country that is renowned for its astonishing beauty, and it is always in the bucket list of every traveler thinking about Asia. Tonight we'll break through the misty fog to an enchanting destination. Land hidden in the clouds among the soaring Alps, and also a gateway to one of the most exquisite regions in Southeast Asia, in order to catch a glimpse of the rolling green mountains. And we are going to also see more about UNESCO heritage sites. This in addition to the stunning maze of rivers, the beautiful natural landscapes, and the rainforests that are like no other. Dear viewers, from the misty mountains to the glistening rice fields, to the enchanting waterfalls, to the powdery white sand, the clear turquoise water, welcome to Vietnam. Tonight, I have all the honor and pleasure for the first time to have with us on Nile TV International and on Wednesday Debate exclusively my guest of honor tonight, His Excellency Ambassador Dung, Ambassador of Vietnam to Cairo. Your Excellency, thank you so much for coming tonight.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
And it's a real honor to talk about Vietnam as a dear country to our beloved Egypt. Of course, our strong sense of partnership, our friendship. This in addition also to the beautiful landscape and the beautiful country that I just introduced. Thank you, Ambassador.
Thank you again.
Well, while celebrating the 60th anniversary of Egypt-Vietnam diplomatic relations, which is actually around the corner, we'll be discussing with His Excellency more about our deep-rooted relations, contributing further to the momentum in bilateral cooperation between the two countries, name it, in the political, the economic, the military, the parliamentary, this in addition also to the cultural relations as well as soft power. We have seen relations between Egypt and Vietnam having the highest political manifestation, and we will be talking about this bright friendship and future between the two countries. Let's see the report highlighting our relations, and we'll be back.
Egypt enjoys historical relations with Vietnam, which goes back to the 1950s, when Vietnamese Liberation Front opened its office in Cairo, with Egypt being among the first countries to establish diplomatic relations with Vietnam on the 1st of September 1963. Since the establishment of the diplomatic relations, both countries have been maintaining close and friendly ties, characterized by dialogue and understanding, as well as bilateral cooperation and exchange of expertise in different fields, which are reflected through the exchange of high official visits, shared views, and coordination in various regional and international forums, especially within the framework of the United Nations. Since 1963, Egypt and Vietnam have also maintained the exchange of delegations at all levels on the party, government, National Assembly channels, as well as people-to-people exchanges. The bilateral relations between the two countries have witnessed a great momentum during the last years. These relations are defined by a number of mechanisms and frameworks. The volume of trade between the two states have increased over the past years, with a big hope in fostering further cooperation in the fields of fisheries, pharmaceuticals, fertilizers, and petroleum. There are lots of agreements signed between both sides covering various areas of bilateral cooperation. Egypt and Vietnam also have substantial potential for cooperation in different spheres, particularly economy, trade, investment, culture, and tourism. Among the different fields of cooperation between Egypt and Vietnam, cultural ties continue to be a very important pillar of the bilateral relations. In this respect, the two countries have promoted cultural exchange activities such as the Vietnamese Culture Day in Egypt and Egypt-Vietnam Culture Exchange Week. Over the past 60 years, with the available potential and the continuous efforts of both sides, the two countries' friendship has been increasingly consolidated and promoted in many fields. In this regard, Egypt and Vietnam have stepped up the multifaceted cooperation and mutual support at multilateral, regional and international forums for the sake of the two peoples, for peace, stability, cooperation and development.
We're talking about our friendly relations, and our guest of honor tonight is His Excellency Ambassador Nguyen, the Ambassador of Vietnam to Cairo. Your Excellency, as we've seen in the report, we've seen a leap in our fruitful relations, relations that bind both countries, Egypt and Vietnam, and a turning point actually under the leadership of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi.
Yes, we can see that the relationship between our two countries started very early in the last century. Since the 1958, we had the trade office opened here, and then after the foundation of the Vietnam Liberation Front in South Vietnam, the great leader of Egypt, General Nasser, was a great admirer of our resistance against foreign invaders, and he agreed for the opening of the representative of the Vietnam Liberation Office in Cairo. Later in 1963, our diplomatic relation was formally established with the opening of the embassies in both capitals. Since then, our relationship, as you could see in the report, has gone through big leaps with our mutual support in our struggles for national independence and national construction, as we can see. Today, the trade relation between our country is still modest, just above 500 to 600 million US dollars per annum. But we can see that there is great potential for our bilateral trade to come over 1 billion US dollars in the very near future.
Yes, definitely characterized by dialogue and understanding are characterizing bilateral relations binding both nations, Egypt and Vietnam, political relations, the importance of exchanging high visits, and even before going live we were talking, Your Excellency and I, concerning the different and important visits on the different levels that take place amongst delegations from both nations. All this helped definitely re-energize and vitalize our relations.
Yes, indeed. In fact, our late President Ho Chi Minh, who was also the founding father of our modern Vietnam, visited Egypt many times, 3 times, if my memory serves me well. The first time in 1911, and in 1946, he visited twice, and he made quite a long stopover in Cairo from the 7th to the 10th of June 1946. Then he visited Cairo, the Egyptian Museum, Luxor, and he expressed his deep admiration of this civilization, of these great people. And from then we keep exchanging visits at all levels, as you rightly mentioned in your report. And most recently, our 2 presidents exchanged their visits. Just last year, we had a visit from the high-ranking officials from the Party Central Committee and our parliament to Egypt. and both were extremely welcomed by the Egyptian host, and we are very thankful for that great sentiment that the people and government and parliament of Egypt extended to our people.
Yes, definitely not only political relations, but as Your Excellency has just mentioned, also parliamentarian relations. And on more than one level, we find this sense of exchange of high-level delegations and visits going on continuously. Well, we're talking also more about how Vietnam views the important role that is played by Egypt in the security and stability of the region. Vietnam admires that important role played by Egypt in that respect.
We can see that under President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, Egypt is a very proactive and active and responsible member of the international community. Since my arrival in Cairo last year, I could notice that your leadership is leaving no stone unturned to work for peace, for development, not only for the Arab world and the Africa, but also for the world at large, shown by your successful hosting of the COP27 in November, and that really left a deep impression in not only me but also the entire diplomatic corps in Cairo.
Yes, it was a great opportunity actually to work with the entire diplomatic corps during COP27, since we as whole humanity is facing an entire destiny concerning the challenges of climate change. So it was a great opportunity definitely to coordinate on more than one stance, from environment, Your Excellency, and attending the COP27 and conferring with world leaders regarding the outcome, to regional and international relations, regional and international issues, and our collaboration and coordination all the way.
Yes, on the international arena, our countries are working very well together at the United Nations. Just last year, we supported each other in the election to the United Nations Human Rights Council, which is the highest body on human rights, which shows both our nations strive towards the protection and improvement of human rights in our country and in all countries in the world.
Yes.
And during when we can see that in the situation now in Africa, Egypt is also playing a very active role to secure peace and stability in this region, and that is good experience and good lesson for us.
Yes, more than one important file that both countries are working on and collaborating on, and I guess that we do have a huge event that is going to take place, and it's around the corner while we are going to celebrate the 60th anniversary of Egypt-Vietnam diplomatic relations. That is going to be a big event. It's going to take place in September 2023. So definitely we are looking forward to this celebration, Ambassador. What do we have in store for celebrating the 60th anniversary of our diplomatic relations?
It would be indeed a very important milestone in our relationship. In the Vietnamese astrology, 60 years is a very auspicious number, which completes one cycle of the astral rotation, and we consider this year as a mark in our to further promote our relationship in the next 60 years.
Yes.
So we have installed a lot of activities in mind, and we will work with our colleagues in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Egypt, as well as other ministries and agencies, including Nile TV, to present to our people in Egypt, in Vietnam and Egypt, about our special relationship?
It would be our honor, Ambassador, and thank you so much for mentioning Nile TV, because you know, it's our duty to celebrate the different cultures around the world. Vietnamese culture is a very rich culture, and allow us to initiate the initiative, Explore Egypt, Explore Vietnam, which is definitely, I guess this initiative is going to help us put our hands together in order also to introduce our cultures, and also maybe talking more about tourism-wise. It is going also to raise, we need to raise the number of tourists who are coming to Egypt, Vietnamese tourists, and also likewise, like vice versa, the Egyptians who would be very much interested to go and enjoy beautiful Vietnam.
I do agree with your argument. In fact, both Vietnam and Egypt are great tourist destinations of the world. And we are learning from Egypt how to draw more tourists to Vietnam, as well as to bring more Vietnamese to Egypt. In fact, since my arrival here, more and more Vietnamese are eyeing Egypt as their preferable destination. They would rather choose Egypt rather than Europe or America, and it's a big news for me.
I'm really glad to hear this. That's good news. Diverse cooperation, diversified cooperation and cooperative ties between the two countries in the different levels, definitely business and trade and economic relations between both nations have witnessed also a great momentum. Your Excellency has referred to the level of trade that we need to increase or maximize in the coming stage.
Yes, we have lots of things that we could do together for the benefits of our people and our economies. Vietnam is currently importing lots of fertilizers, fruits, and agricultural products from Egypt, as well as products for our textile and garment industry. You know that Vietnam is the big textile and garment exporters, and we import a lot of, materials from Egypt to serve our development. Vice versa, Egypt is importing a huge amount of electronics, also seafood products from Vietnam, for example, canned tuna, prawns, frozen prawns and fish, etc. And I think that despite the similarities in our list of products, our economies could be complementing each other and supporting each other for further development.
Yes, definitely. And we are like putting hand in hand in order to promote our trade connections together between Egypt and Vietnam in the different domains. Economic cooperation between the two countries is definitely on top of the list. The volume of trade between both nations, expanding this volume of trade and business bond. What other doors, Your Excellency, that we need to knock and widen horizons vis-a-vis business pacts between both countries?
Apart from such cooperation, I think that education could be a very good area for bilateral cooperation. At present, Vietnam does not have many students in Egypt, but I can see in the future many more Vietnamese students could come for higher education here because of the cost, of the quality, and a very friendly and hospitable environment here in Egypt.
Yes, and mind you, Excellency, the smart universities that have been established in Egypt.
Yes, I visited the Smart Village and the Arabian Institute of Maritime and Science Technology there. And I'm very impressed about the way it works, the way it is structured, and I can see a there a very good educational environment for students.
Yes. I'm really glad to hear that it's not only trade and business, but also we're talking education, we're talking tourism, we're also talking great potential for the enterprises. And we'll be talking also Ambassador soft power and culture, because actually this is another important arm when we're talking our cooperation, we're talking cultural relations and soft power. A short break and let us enjoy together the beat of Vietnam. We'll be back. Beautiful beat from Vietnam. We've seen this sense of fusion, as so to speak, Ambassador.
Vietnamese people are as vivid as the Egyptian people, you know.
Yeah. We're really glad that we do have lots and lots in common too,
Yes.
Concerning the love for music, the love for art, and the cultural story as well. Great potential for the enterprises of both countries, Ambassador. We're talking business expectations that we need to raise. We're talking also about the investment climate in Egypt, and definitely many important visits has been scheduled in that respect to further explore concerning Vietnamese businessmen the investment opportunities in Egypt.
Yes, we are both the developing countries, and I think that your government now is doing the right thing to promote and develop industrial zones. We do the same in Vietnam, and I think we not only encourage our businesses to invest in Egypt or elsewhere in the world, but we also welcome Egyptian enterprises, businesses to work in Vietnam, to find wealth in Vietnam too. In fact, I'm very honored to have the very first Vietnamese company investing in Egypt. Very nominal amount, but it's a very good sign of our intention. In fact, in our foreign policy now, Egypt occupies a good priority for our people to work for. And I think that with the development of the industrial zones in Egypt, as well as the excellent operation and management of the Suez Canal zone, you are deemed to experience very fast development in the very near future, just like we did some years ago.
Great, and we are coordinating actually on more than one level. We are definitely attracting further foreign direct investment to the country. We're glad that we have Vietnamese businesses opening in Egypt. We have, the sky is the limit vis-a-vis our cooperation opportunities with our partners. Talking, Ambassador, also not only are we investing in projects, but we are also investing in people. And under the leadership of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, Egypt has been investing in the human being. As you know, we have beautiful events running, like the World Youth Forum, and definitely Your Excellency has been invited to some of them, where you can see the sense of dialogue without any sort of barriers between the president and the youth. And I'm glad that we are going to have also Vietnamese youth visiting Egypt and also studying in our universities, as you've mentioned, Ambassador. How about youth exchange programs between both countries, Egypt and Vietnam?
I think that the youth exchange program will be playing a very important role in fostering and strengthening people-to-people exchanges. But at the same time, tourism is also a very good way to exchange that. Cultural exchange is there with the development of and promotion of Vietnamese water puppetry in Cairo. And that would be a very excellent experience for the Egyptian audience to see Egyptian artists playing Egyptian stories in the Vietnamese style.
Yes, that would be great, and also hosting many events in the Cairo Opera House.
Yes.
And I guess also during the book exhibit, the book fair. It's also great to read for the pioneers of Vietnamese poets
Yes.
and literary figures.
A couple of years ago, our embassy provided bookshelves to the library of Egypt, and today I'm bringing here for you some of the publications.
That's great.
To see. But I think that such activities could be further promoted, I think, on a regular basis.
Yes, more, of course, wise. Egypt and Vietnam are growing their traditional friendship on more than one level. The youth entrepreneurs, the youth empowerment in both countries. Also, Ambassador, how about women empowerment? We here, of course, as you know, in Egypt, we have women in leading posts as ministers, as heading different important organizations in the different specialities. How about women empowerment in Vietnam? Is it the same?
I have called on several ministries, offices, agencies, and visited many places in Egypt. And I can say that you're true. In Egypt, women are occupying a very important position in society. Your ambassador to Vietnam, Excellency Salama, is an excellent woman, a very active ambassador, and a very effective ambassador as well. In Vietnam, we also give our ladies a very good position in society. In fact, nearly 40% of our parliamentarians are women. Say 30% of the top positions in our government and agencies are occupied by women. And for many, many years, the vice president is always a woman.
That's great, a great honor for Vietnamese women, you know, to share in the decision-making process, and definitely be honored to be taking part in all the development and prosperity of Vietnam. Not only women empowerment and youth empowerment, but definitely tourism is binding us. We are working a lot for the exchange of visits and having Vietnamese tourists coming here, enjoying Egypt's fascinating sites and destinations, and also Egyptian tourists visiting beautiful Vietnam and enjoying an absolutely beautiful country. So here is an invitation on behalf of Nile TV International to all our Vietnamese brothers watching us to come to Egypt and to enjoy the beauty of Egypt, like celebrities from all over the world who come to Egypt and enjoy the beauty of the Nile and the beauty of Egypt. Enjoy the beauty of Egypt also on Nile TV. Short break. Yes, tourism opportunities between both countries. The sky is the limit, Ambassador, re-energizing our visits and enjoying the beautiful destinations, whether here in Egypt or in Vietnam.
Yes, indeed. When I arrived here, the first thing first, I went to the pyramids of Giza.
Yeah.
It is one of the biggest world heritage from time immemorial. And I'm very excited shocked to see it, about its magnificence.
It's amazing, yeah.
And then I visited the National Museum of Egyptian Civilizations, which I keep coming back every 2 or 3 months to see the new exhibits and to learn about your civilization. So does Vietnam. We also have very, very good places to go, like the caves in Sơn Đông in central Vietnam, or the northern mountain region of Vietnam, or we can say sail through the rivers and canals in southern Vietnam and enjoy the great culinaries of our country. In fact, one of the cultural ambassador for Vietnam to Europe is an Egyptian. You know Chef Bobby Chin,
Yeah.
the Michelin star dignitaries.
Yes.
And
very famous.
He was titled the ambassador for Vietnam, a cultural ambassador for Vietnam to Europe in 2014, and he wrote extensively about Vietnamese cuisines. And every time he comes back to Cairo, he would offer the diplomatic corps his expertise in promoting Vietnamese cuisine.
Yes, that's great, and definitely such personalities and stars like we have, of course, many Egyptian stars around the world who are promoting cultures and people-to-people relations, social relations between both countries. And I guess the celebration of the 60th anniversary of our diplomatic relations would be also a great opportunity.
Yes.
For the peoples of both nations in order to explore more about the different cultures of both countries, to know more about the traditions, the cultural traditions. How about festivities in Vietnam, Ambassador, and cultural events that are celebrated widespread in the country, to let our viewers know more about celebrations in Vietnam?
Yes, in Vietnam, the most important festivals of the year is the Tết. The word Tết is now a well-known word around the world because of our wars of resistance against foreign invaders. But the Tết is celebrated around the world, and it is like the month of Ramadan here in the Arab world. When we celebrate the new year, the new crops, and everyone enjoys the family reunion.
Yes.
And then we have almost festivals every month.
Costumes, special costumes.
Costumes. We have 54 ethnic minorities in Vietnam, so we have 54 sets of ethnic costumes.
Yeah. That's really interesting, you know, because this diversity leads to richness in the society as a whole. Talking about the cultural relations between both countries through music, through soft power, inviting Egyptian artists to go to Vietnam and maybe portray the beautiful scenery over there. How about that? I guess that these also enrich.
Yes, that's regular activities between our countries. Just last year, a group of Egyptian circus performers traveled to Vietnam for an international circus festival, and they won the gold medal at the festival, and they really showed to the Vietnamese audience their great talent, and they were very much loved in Vietnam. I hope that they will be most welcome if they decide to be back to Vietnam.
Yes. Well, Your Excellency, a final message, let me say, to all our viewers watching us here from Nile TV International as we wrap up our episode. What would you tell them?
I would like to tell my very dear Egyptian friends that Vietnam holds you in our heart thanks to your precious support in the past for our struggle and your cooperation today for mutual development.
Yes, we thank you so much, Your Excellency, because of the hard work in order to take our bilateral relations and cooperation with Vietnam into higher levels. And as we always say, the sky is the limit. And we are looking forward to this sense of cooperation. We're looking forward to the great bond that binds both countries and celebrating together the 60th anniversary of our diplomatic relations. So celebrating 60 years before and 60 more to come.
And let's move forward.
Let's move forward. The sky is the limit. Forward ever, Egypt and Vietnam. Your Excellency, Ambassador Dung, Ambassador of Vietnam to Egypt, thank you so much for coming to Nile TV International. Always an honor. My guest of honor tonight, His Excellency, for the first time on Nile TV's daily show, The Daily Debate, and on Nile TV International. I hope to see Your Excellency once again, and we would enjoy together talking about our friendly ties. Thank you, Ambassador.
Thank you very much for giving me this privilege.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Always an honor and pleasure. And thank you, dear viewers, for joining us. We talked tonight our mutual cooperation and strategic partnership and great deep-rooted relations with Vietnam. We'll see you next week. Tomorrow, another team. Until then.